Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm excited to close up our workshop series, the Countdown to Graduation. We've covered a number of topics related to how to use LinkedIn and how to get your resume started and preparing for interviews. Today, we're rounding it out by talking about employers and companies and how to research them, how to do your homework. I've worked in career services a number of years, and one of the number one things that I see from students that attend a career fair or interacting with employers is that they don't know anything about that employer. That's very common. So if you actually take the time to do some homework and learn how to research employers, that is going to put you above the competition. You are really going to stand out in a positive way. So our staff at the Career Services Office is really excited to be sharing with you this series on how can you be prepared once you graduate, that countdown to graduation. How can you feel confident that you have the skills that you need to move forward in a positive way? So we're going to go ahead and start by looking at some of the things that you can do to research employers, to learn more about them, and how to leverage the network that's already online, such as LinkedIn. One of our first workshops that we did was to show you, how do I start LinkedIn? How do I start a free LinkedIn account? And so in doing that, again, you just go back to linkedin.com, you start a free account. The way that LinkedIn works, LinkedIn is kind of like the Facebook for professional people. And so when you log into LinkedIn, you want to start connecting. You want to connect to professors. You want to connect to teachers. You want to connect to anyone that was your internship supervisor. Maybe other students. Maybe those students have parents that work at companies that you're interested in. And so it's really important to start building that network. So this is just a look at my LinkedIn profile, but you can see I've got a number of contacts, and you want to keep connecting to those contacts, inviting them to connect with you. So once they've got connected, that's already a place where you can start to see where your contacts are in just the people that you already know. So for example, as I come down and look at my LinkedIn profile, and you can see a LinkedIn profile is just pretty much like a resume, an online resume. You can upload a lot of different stuff here. But at the bottom, you can see your connections. You can see people that have left recommendations. And that's another thing that you can do through your contacts, is to try to get recommendations from them. So looking at this LinkedIn profile, the LinkedIn profile, and this is mine, you can kind of see how I've just posted things that are similar to what you would want to see on a resume, but you can upload some other things like virtual kind of workshops that you've done, things that will highlight the work that you've done at each of these different places. You can link different websites as well. But then down at the bottom, you'll see that you can see some of my contacts and who I've asked for recommendations. And that's the other thing I would recommend. If you have recommendations or if you have connections from your classes, to go ahead and ask them to give you recommendations. And so that could be professors, people that have supervised you. Those people are going to be the ones that can help connect you to places that they've previously worked or other professors that they know in a field. And so use, again, the network that you already have. You already have friends, you already have faculty members, you already have coworkers or people that you've worked with in internships that you can start connecting with. That's always going to be the best way to start your research, is using the network that you already have. But then down here at the bottom, let's say you're following somebody that you already know on LinkedIn. You want to start to see, what are their interests? What are the people that they're following? Are there companies that I could start to connect with? So at the bottom of people's LinkedIn profile, so let's say you're following someone that's doing a job of interest for you, make sure to follow their interests, their companies, different groups or schools that they're following. So for example, these are some of the companies that I've started following just because they posted jobs, or I know that some of our students have interest in them. So let's say, I was thinking about finance. Finance might be one of the fields that I'm interested in working in. And so as you click a company like Capital One, you can start to see who their people are, what type of jobs do they have. People post jobs on LinkedIn. So you can use LinkedIn not just to research employers, but also to look for jobs. But as you start to click over here, you can start to see, okay, is there any people that I know that work at Capital One? And let's say too, let's say if I wanted to find somebody that lives in, and we'll just see South Carolina. I don't know. This is something that I'm trying for the first time. 219. And here's 14 that live in the Greenville area. So really quickly, you could start to say, okay, these are people that I know right now that work at Capital One. I'm interested in banking and finance. I know that's a big kind of financial services agency. Here's 14 people that live in Greenville right now that I might even get a chance to go and talk to them on the phone. And what we're going to be highlighting is, after today, when you start doing employer research, the main thing you want to do is to write down 5 to 10 companies or 5 to 10 names that you want to narrow down. These are the places that I want to start researching. And so again, you could either connect with them on LinkedIn, and the way that LinkedIn works, let's say you get your LinkedIn account today and you connect with me. Well, you and I are first contacts. That means that you and I are kind of LinkedIn friends. But now anybody that I'm connected to becomes your second, and anyone they're connected to becomes your third. And that's as far as your network goes on LinkedIn. And so it's really important to connect with as many people as you can. So right now, let's just take a look at Brittany here. She works at Capital One. She's in Greenville. She graduated from USC Upstate. And we are both connected. Brian Swords is somebody that works at our university. And so I could ask Brian, you know, I know somebody, I met somebody, Brittany, over at Capital One on LinkedIn. Would you mind introducing us? Or if not, as you're starting to kind of make that connection, if you decide, you know what, I really want to try to connect with Brittany so that I can talk to her, you would add this note and you would say, hi, Brittany, I'm a student, a recent graduate from Southern Wesleyan. I'm really interested in your role and what you do at Capital One. I saw that you also know Brian Swords, who works at our university now, would love to connect on LinkedIn. And then you send that invitation. And that's how you start to build contacts, to build people, real people that work at companies and industries of interest for you. And so that's why LinkedIn, I don't know any other website that allows you to so quickly be able to see real people and see real connections right away, right here on the site. And so another place that I would encourage you, this is just our main website. It's swu.edu/career services. And if you're like, I don't even know the top 5 to 10 companies I want to start focusing on, if you scroll here to the left where it says career resources, there's a lot of different research tools that you can use. But one of the ones I'm going to highlight is just researching majors. And this is a great site where you can say, what can I do with a major in this or that? Or what are the type of companies that would hire that? So we're going to view all the majors here. And this list major is not just offered at Southern Wesleyan. It could be other majors that aren't offered, like, you know, architecture or something that is not offered at Southern Wesleyan. But you can see all the different types of majors. And let's say we want to scroll down and we want to look specifically at like human services, human and family services. I know that's a pretty common major at Southern Wesleyan. So let's click on human services. Now, what can I do with a major in human services? And what I love about this website is that it gives you broad areas. So if you just want to work in the social services, like case management or advocacy or doing policies or coordinating volunteers, these are the type of employers who would hire somebody in that field of social services. So if you at least say, you know what, I know I'm going to live in Charlotte, North Carolina. What do I need to start researching? You need to start researching all the public welfare agencies, all the federal, state, and local government agencies, different things like one-stop career centers or Head Start, things like religiously affiliated organizations, nonprofits, drug and rehab centers in Charlotte, North Carolina. So you can start to research those things very targeted just by Google search, but then knowing that those are going to be the type of jobs that with my human services degree, I can start to find something like case management or advocacy. Those would be the types of jobs that would come up. So this list right here of employers, that's what will help you start to build that list of 5 to 10 employers. And then these are strategies that you can be doing right now that'll be moving you in that direction. Some additional things at the bottom of this handout gives you all kinds of links from the Occupational Outlook Handbook. So what does it look like if I know I want to be a nonprofit manager? What does a social and community service manager look like? And so this tells you a little bit more about that job, like what's the average salary and what kind of degree do I need to do that? How to become one? If you look at what they do tab, this is going to tell you some of the day-to-day things. So as you're researching different companies and industries and you start to see a social and community service manager, well, you need to do a little bit of research like this to find out what am I going to be doing and does that even align with the type of skills I want to use? This also will just tell you, if you click the More Info tab right here, and we're going to look at what the ONET has to say. This is another good website, the ONET, for social and community service members or managers. So that's going out to another website. But I'm just going to show you how easy it is to find a list of employers that are doing this type of a job. So let's say you find a job like this job title that you're interested in. If you go down under job openings, then you can start to find jobs that are very specific to a location. And so you can look at Let's just look in South Carolina. So again, we're looking at social and community service managers. This is linking you to a lot of different kind of job boards, and this is where you can start to research employers. But here we found 100 jobs for social and community service managers in South Carolina. And so you can see all the different locations. And as we mentioned, this is the South Carolina Department of Public Safety, or some different healthcare agencies. Most of these are government agencies. So that gives you an idea of, okay, maybe this is an employer that carries healthcare. I'm not exactly sure what that is, but it's in Greenville, South Carolina, and they have a position. So this is 100 jobs. You could be starting looking at job titles, but then what I encourage you to look at is this list here of companies. And this is going to let you know what are the companies that are really hiring, that are in the fields that I'm most interested in. So again, we started with your major of human services. We researched, what can I do with that major in human services? You looked at some of our resources and handouts and searched for jobs. And now you can see a whole list of employers, either jobs themselves or at least employers that you know are hiring. So then this SC Department of Public Safety, that might make it to the top of your list of 5 to 10 names of places that you're going to start researching because it's related to your major. So that's just one strategy that you can do. And again, you'll get started through just clicking this Career Resources tab here on the left. You can research majors. And when you click Research Occupations, that's also just going to take you to this Occupational Outlook Handbook. And you can look up jobs based on any type of field that you're interested in. So again, if there's business and financial, then you can look at all these different kind of job titles. And if you say, okay, I'm interested in being an accountant, then as you click that title, again, you can start to read about it, learn what types of things would I have to do day in, day out. And when you click this more info, that's how you get to the ONET, which is going to start to connect you to those job boards. So you can really get to 2 great tools just by researching majors and researching occupations. Going back to LinkedIn, I wanted to show you one other way that you can just do some research using alumni. So if you just typed in Southern Wesleyan University, we're going to click on this school. There are more than 8,000 Southern Wesleyan alumni that have used LinkedIn and have posted LinkedIn on their LinkedIn profile. So that's a great way to start researching companies. So if you just click alumni, we're going to take a look at some of these, and you can really start to target it down and limit your search based on where you want to live. It could be based on your major. It could be based on a keyword. So let's say you wanted to be a case manager. We're just kind of looking at that. So we typed in the keyword case manager. There's 189. And again, we're clicking Greenville right now just because that's the closest to the main campus. So now we've got 75 alumni that have case management, case manager. You can see a lot of these, and a lot of these probably studied human services. If you want to click this next button over here, you can see what they do. So again, community and social services. If you were like, man, I really want to be a community and social service manager, you could click just on people that do community and social services and find real people with real names. Most of these are seconds for me, but you could start to say, okay, I want to be an advocate. Well, what does that look like? And you can also scroll up here and see what are the names of the organizations. Where do they work? So a lot work at Clemson, Shell Point Mortgaging Servicing, SASE, Verizon, the Phoenix Center, Greenville County Schools, Julie Valentine Center. So even some of those state agencies. So again, I would connect to all of these alumni. And one of the best ways you can do that is just to start and say, hi, my name's Ellen. I just graduated with Human Services. I'm really interested in what you do. I saw that you're a case manager. That's something that's really interested me. Can we connect on LinkedIn? And so once you've connected, this is one of the things I would do. So from this list, whether you write down all 10 names or you just write down 2 names and then keep researching some other people. Maybe you want to live, again, in Charlotte or Georgia or New York. You might be able to connect with alumni that live there. And once you've found some names of people and you've actually been able to connect with them, because once you connect with somebody on LinkedIn, you're able to send them a message directly through LinkedIn. And so right now, unless you're connected to them, you usually can't send them a message. But, oh, well, this one you can if there's a second. So this could be something, if I saw I want to learn more about SASE of America. I wanted to find out what it was more to be like as a case manager. You could just, again, send her this email and say, I'm in the process of researching companies and organizations. I'd really like to learn more about your organization and what it's like to be a case manager. Now, I want to highlight for you, and this is going to be one of the handouts that I share with you after this workshop, is how do I do an informational interview? This is probably one of the best ways to job search and to do research about companies and organizations, and probably one of the least utilized, LinkedIn and informational interviews. And so I want to give you all the tools that you need. The handouts I'll send you today are about how to do informational interviews and how to start your LinkedIn account. So I want to make it as simple as possible. So if you're reaching out to them, this would be kind of the script that you'd say. I'm a graduate, maybe you're not a senior, but I'm a graduate of Southern Wesleyan. I found your name on LinkedIn as a Southern Wesleyan alumni. I'm conducting research to determine the best path for me, and I would like to talk to you maybe for about 15 to 20 minutes. That's what I'd aim for. And to just say, I have some questions I'd love to ask you about your story and about how you got started with that organization. What's the worst that could happen? The worst that could happen is that they don't reach back out to you or you never hear from them. Okay, you're not any worse off than you were before. But what's the best that could happen? Let's say you start that conversation, you hit it off, and that person says, well, you know what, we are in the process of hiring. Or you ask them afterwards and say, you know, I am in the job search process now. I've been working on my resume. Could I send that to you? If you have any advice, what would be advice that you give me as I start moving forward and applying to jobs? And I even have a list of questions here down below. These could be the types of questions that you ask. Now, you don't have to ask them every single one of these questions, but come ready with questions. You are the interviewer. And so let's say, again, by the end of that conversation, you really hit it off. You send a copy of your resume to them. Now, they could be an advocate for you. Now, what you're doing in this, you're not asking them for a job or an internship, but you're just saying, I want to gain from your knowledge. I want to get information from you about what it's like to work with that company, about what it's like to have your job title. And so this informational interview handout will tell you what to ask and how to follow up. And then again, you have that list of 5 to 10 names of people that you may want to research. Now you can start to cross things off the list. If you talk to them for 15 minutes and you say, you know what, that's not a company it doesn't sound like a company I'd be interested in. Well, good. Now you haven't wasted any time trying to apply or work there. You've done the research and your homework to see, was that a good fit for me? So doing that informational interview is really what to do with that list. So 2 steps is to, 1, write down the name of 5 to 10 companies or the name of 5 to 10 people working at organizations of interest for you that maybe have that job title that you're interested in. And then 2 is to ask and request for an informational interview. And listen, you might ask for 10 people to do an interview and only 2 of them get back with you. Well, start with that too. And then ask them, is there anybody else that you would recommend that I reach out to as I'm trying to learn more about this type of agency or this type of job? Could you tell me, is there anybody else that you'd recommend I'd learn from? And again, you're not asking them for a job or an internship. You're just gaining their knowledge. And most of the time, people like to talk about themselves. So if you treat it professionally, respect their time, treat their time as precious, and then send thank you notes and thank them for the information they give you, then most people are going to be willing to talk with you. So that's another great strategy as you're doing some research. What I'd like to close with, kind of going back to the career website, is just how to use some of our tools that are directly from our website. One of the things I do want to highlight is that we're going to be having a virtual career fair coming up in June. And as you go in and you want to start looking at who would be these employers, you do have to be logged in to SWU CareerLink to see this handout and this website. But this would be a great way to research and find employers, is taking advantage of things like career fairs. This is going to be a virtual one happening in June, but there's another career fair happening in October that's going to be in Greenville. So this is a great way. If you click this link down here at the bottom, you can actually start to see who are the employers that are participating in this virtual career fair coming up in June. And as you can see, we're participating with a number of schools that are participating in this virtual career fair, but now you can start to see the list of employers that if they're registered for this career fair, that means they're hiring. So these are perfect places for you to start. They're coming, they've registered for a career fair that Southern Wesleyan is participating in. That means they want to hire you. So why not start with this list? This is a great list of people to start with that might be hiring. Now, I just noticed that ScanSource is actually registered for our career fair, and that's why it's really important as you go, check out our events here in our event widget, but also follow us on Facebook and Instagram, because if you were to follow us on Facebook, what you would see is that we've actually already did an informational interview for you, a virtual one with ScanSource that's listed here on YouTube. So if you didn't know what ScanSource was before, you can just go to our YouTube channel or follow us on Facebook, and you can watch this 23-minute video about ScanSource. And our representative from ScanSource came and told you everything that you needed to know about working at ScanSource and how to apply there. So this is a really great resource directly from our website and from our social media. So make sure that you're following that, because that's going to give you some clues as to the type of companies and industries that are hiring. One of the most important things you want to do is, one, write down the list of those 5 to 10 names that are most interest for you, and then 2, to start researching those companies and industries either on LinkedIn. You can use Google, you can use our tools in CareerBeam. There's lots of research tools for you to use, and that's going to be the best way for you to prepare for those interviews, to make sure that you're connecting with real people and real jobs. Because again, just uploading your resume, you have your resume and you upload it to Indeed and then just try to apply. I think that's how a lot of students think the job search process works. That is a way to apply for jobs. That's probably one of the least powerful, the least impactful ways to do a research or to apply to a job. Really doing hands-on research like this, finding a real person, a warm contact that works for that company, reach out to them in an informational interview, and then see if they can help you connect. Because then once you apply to a job, you could name drop in a cover letter. You could start to say, I had such a great conversation with so-and-so who works on your company. They talked so highly about you. I was really excited to see this job to apply to. And then you apply. People hire people because there's a connection. They know you, they trust you. So you don't want to just count on that resume to be the thing that gets you the job. So I cannot stress again how important this is going to make you stand out. So if you take these tips, do some of these things after your countdown to graduation, or as you are on your countdown to graduation, if you run with these 2 steps, it is going to take you a step above the crowd. And this is going to be a competitive job market. You're going to be competing not only with people who recently graduated, but also those that might have re-entered the job market after some of what's happening with some of this job loss recently. So it's going to be really important to set yourself up so that you're competitive in that interview. Thank you so much for taking part in this workshop today. And I look forward to doing everything we can at the Career Services Office to help you feel confident as you move forward to this next season of your job search.